Welcome or welcome back. My name is Tab and I love to talk about books. Welcome back to the second episode of the book drop where I go over the top 10 new releases that I am most anticipated for, and I go over some book news and any book purchases that I did throughout the week. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about some new releases coming out the week of May 13th. As always, I will categorize these in genres, and I usually only have 10 books, so this video isn't super duper long. So the first genre is always going to be romance because it is always my most anticipated and my favorite genre. So the first book I have, it's actually coming out on May 15th. It's called Tourist Trap by Morgan Elizabeth. This is also going to be on Kindle Unlimited. It says a small town, age gap, grumpy sunshine, summer romance based in Seaside Port, a shore town in New Jersey. So I think this is going to be very much like a fluffy rom-com. I'm sure it has to do with, the Jersey Shore. It's Tourist Trap, so someone must be a tourist. So we'll see how it goes. But I cannot wait to read this, and I want to read this on release day. Along with that book, also coming out on May 15th, is My Favorite Bad Decision by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is also going to be on Kindle Unlimited. This book description says, "A week without showers, a real bed or internet was bad enough. Spending it with my family's sworn enemy, the unbearable, smug, indecently handsome Miller West, is a bridge too far. I'm determined to remain enemies, even if sparring with him is my favorite thing in the world. Even if he's hell-bent on protecting me, whether I need it or not, and surprisingly kind no matter how awful I am to him. But 8 days is a long time to hate someone you're sleeping next to, especially when you suspect you never hated him at all." Ooh, this I also want to read on release day. The next one is 32 Days in May by Betty Corello. And this description says it's about a young woman recently diagnosed with lupus, attempts a no-strings fling with a former television star. Hopefully this one doesn't pull at my heartstrings. It may. Lupus, I know, is a very difficult condition to have, but let's hope that, this is a happily ever after that I'm always looking for when I read romance. And the last book in the romance genre that I am so anticipating for this week is Lovesick by Deidre Duncan. This is also on Kindle Unlimited. And the description says, Grey's Anatomy meets the hating game. Already love it. In this delicious laugh-out-loud rom-com set in the world of a tight-knit group of OB/GYN residents. It is also written by a practicing physician, so that's interesting. Probably most of the terminology and background in this book is going to be pretty accurate if it's written by someone who's actually a practicing doctor. Love may be the best medicine, but first-year resident Grace Rose isn't prescribing it anytime soon. Not since her ex broke her heart in med school, and especially not since hearing the rumor that she slept her way into the OB/GYN program. Spoiler alert, not true. With her social anxiety already in full spiral, Grace is determined to set the record straight. But after a tense first encounter with fellow resident Julian Santini, with his annoyingly good looks and witty charm, she realizes that her reputation may never fully recover. This is interesting. OB/GYN, which is pretty much female care, babies being born, you go to labor and delivery, it is an OB/GYN nurse that's going to be taking care of you. That is such a highly coveted job if you're a registered nurse, and it's usually not given out to new students. Usually need a few years of med-surg experience, ED, ICU, something, because in maternity, shit can hit the fan real quick, and you kind of need to have a already skill set embedded in you in nursing. And as a registered nurse myself, OBGYN was like the field everyone wanted to get into. I actually wanted to be a midwife before I had kids, so I can see how this program is competitive. And it is predominantly a female occupied profession. So to have a male in this situation, I feel like they are the minority. So everyone automatically thinks, oh gosh, a male is competing for a role. There's no males. They're automatically going to get it. So I'm sure Julian has a lot to kind of overcome when he is also trying to fight for this position too. The next category is mysteries and thrillers. First book, The Man Made of Smoke by Alex North. The book blurb says, Dan Garvey's life has been haunted by the crime he witnessed as a child. Narrowly escaping an encounter with a notorious serial killer, he has dedicated his life since to becoming a criminal profiler, eager to seek justice for innocent victims. So when his father passes away under suspicious circumstances, Dan revisits his small island community, determined to uncover the truth about his death. Is it possible that the monster he remembers from his childhood nightmares has returned after all these years? This sounds extremely thrilling and captivating. The next book is Dying to Meet You by Serena Bowen, and this book description is a twisty thriller that probes how well we actually know the men in our lives. Rowan decides to stalk her ex-boyfriend's whereabouts, and when she thinks she's going to find him with another woman, she is actually front row to his murder. And she is also not the only one hiding secrets. So I think this is going to be not mistaken identity, but she is definitely thinking that her ex-boyfriend was doing X and ex-boyfriend was actually doing Y. And now Rowan is mixed in with Y, and now she needs to get out before she is also done for. The last book in this category, The Labyrinth House Murders by Ho Ling Wong, who's the translator. This is a book in translation, and Yukito Ayatsuji. Sorry if I did not say that correctly. And this description is a twisty and ingenuous standalone classic Japanese murder mystery. Can the brilliant Kiyoshi Shimada solve the mystery of this bizarre house before all those trapped in its labyrinth are dead? Can you guess the solution before he does? I love book and translation mysteries about puzzles, mazes. They are usually very witty, and you can kind of play along with them and try and see if you can also, suss out who's the bad person or what's the answer to the plot or how to get out. And then I have one book in the horror genre, and it is called Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Wang. And it's kind of like horror sci-fi. It's set in the fiercely competitive art world, a novel about an obsessive friendship upended by a cutting-edge technology purported to enhance empathy and connection. So I think this is definitely going to be really sci-fi trippy, best friends turned enemies. And I have one book in the YA category, which is kind of like a YA horror thriller. It's called Out of Air by Rachel Reese, and this description says, while diving a local reef, Phibbs discovers a spectacular underwater sea cave, rumored to be a lost cave with a buried treasure. But when Phibbs and her best friend Gabe surface from the cave, they notice that they're undergoing strange changes. Oozing gashes that don't heal, haunting whispers in their heads, something has latched onto them, lurking beneath their skin, transforming them from the inside out. Usually I'm not a fan of horror, but I can stomach YA horror because it seems like it's slightly less on the this could happen to me scale, but it's more gory. And I will never be a diver. I don't even enjoy the ocean. I go up to maybe my knees. So this is something I'm going to feel I'm never going to be put in this situation. And I love reading about diving and underwater just because the thought alone is so scary. How can something not go wrong? So I'm interested for this. And like I say after every book, I'm interested. I'm excited to read it. Of course, Tabitha, it's on your list. Lastly, under the fiction category is Main Characters by Hannah Ornstein. This is a love letter to lake life. It's The Parent Trap for adults. The story of two half-sisters who meet for the first time at their father's cabin in Maine after his unexpected death. I think this is going to be a lot of found family and half-siblings, hopefully leaning on each other and getting, a closer bond and relationship. So that is it for my top 10 anticipated releases coming out this week. The one book purchase I have is another Kindle case. I love these things so much. This is like my spring summer Kindle case, and this is by page.co, and I love it. It's exactly like my other Kindle case I brought last week. The insides are all the same. It still has this little flap. It's literally the same exact framework, just a different design. And this design has been out of stock on their website, and I got the text that it was in stock, and I just couldn't wait. I had to go buy it ASAP. And for the last part of this video is the book news. There is quite a lot of news that I want to try and get through. The first thing is Devney Perry's book, Shield of Sparrows, which recently released at the beginning of May, is going to be turned into a movie by MGM and Amazon. There's no further news on casting or the release day, but I am so excited. First off, I am so excited to just read this book in general, and I know once I read it, I'm going to be super pumped for a movie, and I hope the characters in my head are kind of relayed into whoever they cast for the main characters. I always feel like some type of like character casting savant when my head actually is the character that's casted. Next is, I'm not sure if anyone has heard of it, but there was a book fest. It was called A Million Lives, and it was held I think the 2nd and 3rd of May, and they are relating it to a fire festival fiasco. I guess it was rumored or published or promoted that there was going to be about 500 attendees. There was over 500 tickets sold. And in real life, I guess only 50 to 60 people showed up. There were more indie authors there than ticket holders. This was an indie author book fest. I have a link to the Threads post that I got this information from if you want a little bit more. But I guess the highlights were there were no badges, no swag bags that were promised. And let's be honest, everyone goes to these book fests and book cons for the swag bags. And there was no schedule posted, no food, no decorations or music for the ball that was supposed to be held on one of the days. Archer Management, who set this all up, I guess put on a very informal apology, and it looked like someone told this lady, listen, you need to go and do an apology right now onto social media, because there were so many people talking around her. She was against just like a plain white wall, and it was probably less than 30 seconds, the apology. So I think they're trying to do damage control right now, and they just hurried this poor girl on there to try and say sorry for the fiasco that was A Million Lives Book Fest. Also released a little bit earlier in the month were the book club picks for all the celeb book clubs. I have my top 4 that I really pay attention to. For Read with Reese, it was Emily's Henry, Great Big Beautiful Life, which I think most people are going to be reading this even before this was Reese's pick. Read with Jenna is The Names by Florence Knapp. I cannot wait to read this. Good Morning America Book Club is The Original Daughter by Jemima Way. And Oprah's book club is Matriarch by Tina Knowles, which is Beyonce's mom, in case you didn't know. Also in book news, which this made me giggle, I love hockey. Ex-NHL goon who was absolutely unbearable to watch in the NHL. He has domestic violence, just derogatory comments to women. He has a bunch of allegations against him. I guess he has decided to publish his first hockey romance. And truthfully, who better to get a hockey romance from than someone who plays hockey? But with his very colorful past, I don't know how he can possibly write about romance, considering he does not seem all that romantic or nice to females in general. He does have a co-author in this, so hopefully she can kind of give a little bit more to the story. The book's description is saying that it is sexy and addictive. Summer skate is the sun on your skin in a string bikini. It's the sound of skates cutting across the ice of a hockey rink, chasing victory. It's an answer to the question, how bad do you want it? This comes out September 9th, and Sean Avery is one of the authors, and he is the ex-NHL player. So who knows how this is going to turn out? I know a lot of female sports romance authors aren't very happy about it, not because he's a male, but because of his past with women and kind of like how dare he write a romance when he is the farthest from a romantic. But that leads me to my question. How do you feel about men writing romance? Sometimes I find their romance is very like male protect, female care type of books, like very cavemanish. And when females write romance books, they're very flowery, in-depth, emotional. I feel like women really give men such a good like character most of the time in romance books, and it's usually because it always ends in a happy ever after. But even this like book description, the sun on your skin in a string bikini, it just sounds like something a guy would say. So who knows? I will pick it up on September 9th just because I am going to be so interested to see. He, I believe, has one other book out, but it was either a memoir or an autobiography. It was something related to his life in hockey. Next is if you have been collecting the indie versions of Jessica Peterson's romance cowboy novels in the series Lucky River Ranch, which is Cash, Wyatt, and Sawyer is out so far, then if you haven't purchased Wyatt with the indie cover, I would hurry up and jump on Amazon and snag it, because on May 15th, that's going to be the last day to order the book in indie cover before it goes to traditionally published, and you'll probably have to spend, double or triple the price if you want to get it on some third-party sellers. And last little tidbit of news is Variety posted about Elle Kennedy's popular book series, the Off Campus series, which is being adapted to a TV series on Amazon Prime. Check the link in the descriptions. It has the casting. It does not have a release date yet, but I know a lot of people are upset about the casting choices. Besides I think the female main character, Hannah, in the first book, everyone is, I guess, satisfied with her, but everyone else that they have casting, people cannot understand how they were casted. I'm a big believer in, let it first come out. You may be pleasantly surprised at how they are portrayed and how they act. But I have not read this series, the off-campus series, so I have no idea who I can visualize these people in my head, and who knows if I'm even going to be able to get around to reading this series before the TV show's out. Well, that was everything that I wanted to go over this week. I hope you found some nice releases to add to your list. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.